Episode 19, Streets and Scholars. Thanks for tuning in and listening to another banger. I'm Alex Alonso. I'm here with FG. What's going on, man?
What's going on with you, Alex?
Man, I'm just, actually, I was in court earlier today.
Right. How did it go?
It was going pretty good, man. And a little bit we could talk about it. We'll talk about that Nipsey Hussle case. Eric Holder's on trial, and the prosecution still has the case. But let's go through a couple of updates on some topics that we've been talking about throughout the whole Streets and Scholars podcast. We've been tapping in with Bill Cosby, and jury just came back on his case, man.
Man, that's crazy, man. You know what I mean? I was expecting him to with a better outcome.
Yeah, man. A jury found him guilty of doing whatever this woman, Judith Huth, said that he did back in 1974 or 1975.
Man, it don't matter. That's a long ass time ago, and hey, man, I was rooting for him on this one.
I thought because the timeline got altered, that would take credibility. That would bring up a credibility issue on her part, but apparently it wasn't enough for the jury to disregard it.
Yeah, but at the same time, 1975, all these years ago on a fondling case, basically, and this is what 40 years later, 40 plus years later. I just don't feel that one.
Yeah, I thought there would be a statute of limitations on something like this, but apparently this was here in California, Playboy Mansion.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you could sue somebody for doing some sort of sexual harassment or sexual. You said fondling, but was there another term that they used?
No, but basically what they said was that he basically stuck his hand in her pants, or had her stick her hand in his pants.
Yeah.
It wasn't no penetration or nothing like that. It wasn't a rape. You know what I mean? They still called it a sexual assault. But on the timeline, if it's a minor, they changed that law to where it's like a murder now. No statute of limitations if it's a minor.
Well, she was awarded Mr. Cosby, from Mr. Cosby, liable for damages and awarded $500,000. But no punitive compensation. So $500,000 in Bill Cosby's world is not a whole lot of money.
It's not, not to mention she got to pay her attorneys, you know what I mean? She gonna run off with $300,000, $250 at the end of the day, for her to go through all that and all these years. Hey, I mean, it's a paycheck, but at the end of the day, man,
Yeah, she filed this lawsuit in 2014. So let's just say she gets $300,000, and this happened 8 years ago. Do me a favor, $300,000 divided by 8, and whatever that number is, that's what she got per year.
Per year,
since she filed this lawsuit. It made me think about I sued the owner of a property, and it took what is the number?
$37,500.
$37,000. She made $37,000.
Worked at Walmart and got that.
Yeah. So So I think about it that way because I had sued the owner of this apartment building once, and at the end of the day, I was given $25,000. But it was a lawsuit that got dragged out for about 3 years.
Damn.
So when you think about it, I got $25,000 minus a third of that. At the end of the day, the 3 years that I grinded on this lawsuit, it really wasn't worth it.
Wasn't worth it, yeah.
But I mean, when you get a check, check for 25, it seems like, oh, I got some money.
Right, but when you go do the math and the numbers,
Yeah, you do the math and you do the numbers on that, it's some crumbs for those 3 years that I was doing it. So it's something similar here. She's going to get $37,000 a year for all the work that she's been putting in on this case for the last 8. But for some of these women, it's more than money. It's about this Me Too movement, and it's about holding men accountable for violating women.
You know what? I would ride with you on that if she didn't take 40 years to do it. You know, and that's the whole thing about me, so I really don't, I can't say I don't have no sympathy on the situation if it happened where she won. So if it happened back then, but at the same time, she waited all this time, I really don't feel that. People go on and move on with their lives and stuff like that, and this come back to haunt you, 40-some years later. Like I said, I just don't feel the timeline.
Yeah, I think it's a little tardy. All right. About a week ago, Suge Knight was actually in court.
He was.
A lot of people didn't know about this because it wasn't really publicized.
Right.
People wasn't talking about it. But he was in court for the family of Terry Carter suing him for being responsible for the death of Terry Carter.
Right.
OG Pyru from the West Side.
No doubt.
Did you ever meet him back in the day?
No doubt. Terry Carter, that was the big homie for sure.
Yeah. I heard a lot of good things about him, but I've met a lot of brothers that didn't like him too.
Yeah. You're going to have that when you having that money and you a presence, you're going to have that. So it comes to both ends.
Now, he got involved in the music business back in the day, I think with Ice Cube, and he had a label called Heavyweight.
When I had my nightclub, the Red Velvet, they had Short Chop back then. I don't know if you remember Short Chop.
I remember the name Short Chop.
So Heavyweight and Wacko and Chip and all them brought Short Chop to the club to perform for me, man. We had a real good time. He got down, did his thing,
Is Short Chop still around?
You know what? After that song, that was a hot song. Of course it was with Cube, but after that, I never heard nothing from him.
Yeah. He got heavy involved in the music business, and then some years after that, I think he sued Ice Cube and came up on $500,000.
Oh, did he?
Or 400,000, $500,000.
Yeah.
And I guess he dabbled in entertainment throughout the years, but his family sued Suge. Well, actually, his family's tried to sue everybody.
Right.
They sued Universal. Mm-hmm. They sued Dre and Ice Cube. I think there was a couple other lawsuits, and they lost them all.
Right.
And then they decided we're going to sue Suge, a guy that's doing 28 years in prison with no access to money.
Right.
So I'm a little wondering why they did it, but nevertheless, they sued him, and a jury found Suge Knight responsible for the death of Terry Carter, and they awarded the family $81 million in the wrongful death lawsuit.
No doubt, man. That's a lot of money that they'll never see.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to see it.
In my opinion,
That's true. It kind of reminds me of O.J. Simpson when the Goldman family and the Brown family sued O.J.
Right.
after he was found not guilty, and they awarded them $33 million.
$33 million, yeah.
And I heard the father Goldman speaking, saying they only received so far like a few $1,000s.
Damn.
Yeah, out of the $33 million. But O.J. does a good job at avoiding it.
Well, you know what? You could place your money in certain positions where it can't be touched. I think they couldn't mess with his retirement or something. It was one of his funds they couldn't mess with.
They can't mess with his NFL pension.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. Yeah.
$25,000 a month, I believe.
Yeah.
He gets that for the rest of his life.
Right.
And he moved to Florida to where they don't mess with your property.
Got you.
I guess in California, if you own a house, they can come after your house.
No doubt, yeah.
So I guess he learned from the attorneys.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, where can I live and they can't get my house? Florida. All right, I'm moving to Florida. And he's been in Florida ever since, except for the time he had to go to jail for.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with Suge. But Suge is still trying to make deals. Suge is still trying to do things. I heard that there's a movie that he wanted to do. Kenner was involved. Actually, Kenner defended him in this case.
He did.
And lost. But also Kenner was trying to do a deal with him to do his movie similar to Straight Outta Compton.
Right. I'm wondering how that's going to work out now, if it even can work out.
Well, a movie like that is definitely going to make money.
No doubt.
But how does Suge get any of that money when he's got this $80 million lawsuit against him now?
Right. Well, I mean, I don't have no intel,
Well, what would FG do?
Me personally, I would sell it to David Kenner for dirt cheap. And once it's David Kenner's, he own it. Now, they could take a cut off whatever I got from David Kenner. You know what I mean? If I sold him the story for $10,000, y'all can get 8 or 9 of it or whatever. And David Kenner going to make all this money, and he would trust him that he'd take care of his family. That's what he would probably have to do to make it happen.
And I guess David Kenner is someone he can trust because this dude's been around for years.
And this dude been, you know what I mean? Me personally, I still think David Kenner got some money and he is put up somewhere.
So you would entrust David Kenner to do your movie, but then tell him, I guess this got to be like a gentleman's agreement.
No doubt.
No contracts, no paper, and say, hey, you're going to have to pay my wife's mortgage for the next 10 years with that money. And, whatever responsibilities you want him to do, you would tell him to do it. And I guess that's a way for him to avoid having to pay the Carter family money.
No doubt, because he don't only owe the Carter family. He probably still owe Lydia and them some money over there at from the 107 million that she got awarded over there. Harry O's wife, if people don't know who Liddy is. So I'm sure he still owes some of that. So, I mean, he probably can't make a deal. They buried him financially.
Yeah, man, it's a trip, man. Like, to a certain degree, you would think a guy like Suge Knight is like, I don't care about none of these lawsuits. I'm doing 28 years. But at the same time, you're still trying to take care of your family.
No doubt.
You got to, even though you're in prison, and let's speak about this for a minute. Even though you're in prison, you still need money in prison.
No doubt.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think that, oh, you go to the prison, you got 3 hots in the cot, and everything is smooth sailing.
No, not at all.
But what is it like when you don't have money and you're in prison?
It's miserable. You know, and then some prisons, they may have a unicorn that you are able to take care of yourself. But then that's why some people smuggle drugs in. That's why some people gamble. That's why people, you know, iron and wash clothes for a living. You'll be surprised at some of the, some people are legal beagles where, you know, they'll file a motion for you, you know, for a fee, you know. So at the end of the day, man, you'll be surprised how creative guys get. But nonetheless, you do need that money in there.
And also for like, do you have to pay for like toothpaste, soap, and other like necessities like that?
Hell yeah, and it's expensive. You know, it seemed like that it would be some kind of cap or some kind of, look, these are inmates, you know what I mean? And man, they just charge you up the ass for the same thing on the street, you know, with a markup, you know.
So in your cell though, there's certain things like toilet paper is always gonna be in your cell, right? You don't gotta pay for that.
No doubt you don't, but you can.
You can? You can get different toilet paper if you want?
If you don't want the rough stuff, you know what I mean? You could go get some Charmin. If if you balling like that, you know what I mean? You can go get you some Charmin and you'll be surprised what's on that list. It's so much shit on that list, Alex, that this is a business. Don't forget. Prison is a business.
No doubt.
For investors. You know, you can go right now to the stock market and invest in the prison system. You know what I mean? So the people who do that, you know, they don't want to see people get out of jail, or they don't mind seeing people go to jail, even though you have to commit a crime to get there, you know. But those long sentences, they don't vote to shorten those long sentences based on this is their investment, you know.
That's a trip that you could even get your own toilet paper if you could afford to do so.
Oh, no doubt, man. You'll be surprised what you can get on that commissary list. Like back in the day when I was in the state in the 90s, the list was like this long. Now this list got this damn long, you know what I mean? And the things that's on it is just crazy. I mean, not stuff you don't need, but if you got the money, you can buy it.
Like, for example, if I go to the Ralph's Market down the street, I can buy a small pack of ramen for 33 cents. I can probably get 4 for $1.
Right.
In prison, the prices are different, right?
The prices are different, you know, no doubt. They're a little lower than the county system. I'm hearing in the county jail, one noodle soup is $1 or damn near $2 or $3 just for one soup.
One small
package. You know what I mean?
Over $1.
Yeah, no doubt. And they raping them, man. It's just, you know, they already doing time. You know, now don't get me wrong. And when you get to prison, the prices do lower, but it's still they marking it up so much, man. And it's just like, damn, you want me to do time? And I mean, if you gave me a restitution, let me pay that. But don't hit me, you know, just trying to have my toothpaste, my deodorant, my soaps, my, you know, all the things that you need to have, you know.
Now, I heard that the telephone system, it doesn't cost as much as it used to cost for inmates, where, you know, it used to be some crazy per minute charge.
Right.
And I don't know who was involved in making this change, but apparently someone complained and said it's unfair for inmates to have to pay all this money if they want to make a collect call or if they want to call from jail. So at least in the state of California, that system has changed. What I wanted to ask you is, what was it like in the feds if you wanted to make a phone call? Was it expensive? Did they jack up the rates?
Well, back then you only got 300 minutes when I was in there. Now I hear you get 5.
300 minutes per month?
Per month.
Okay.
So that's a lot of dudes that by the 15th they're out of minutes. You know, can't make a phone call. I wasn't that guy. You know, you got to ration these things out, and I at least need 2 minutes on my last day on my 29th day. I need 2 minutes at the bare minimum.
So the 300 minutes is free?
No, the 300 minutes was just the time allotted. Now you had to pay for this 300 minutes, which at that time, 300 minutes probably was $60, $70. About $60, $70 for the 300 minutes, you know. During November and December, you get an extra 100 minutes, you know, but of course that's more money, you know. So not to mention, you got to pay all this money on trying to feed yourself. You trying to make these phone calls, which stay in touch with your family, talk to your kids, you know. So it's expensive to do time.
So when you're on that phone in the feds, are you managing the clock, saying to yourself, okay, I got 300 minutes, or okay, I only got 200 minutes, or do you just talk and you just let it go?
No, you had phone calls in 15-minute increments. So you can only talk for 15 minutes, and before you had to wait maybe another hour before you could use the phone again. But you can keep going back and forth all day if that's what you chose to do. You know, like I say, I seen dudes in day 10, it's a wrap. They got to wait 20 days before they can even use the phone, you know.
Can you sell your minutes to another inmate?
You can't sell your minutes, but, you know, it's dudes who do work twists, you know what I mean? You know, or the guys who never use the phone, because you have people who they don't be in touch with their family. You know, they can't afford to make a phone call. You know, it's people who work twists that for a dude who's never used his phone before, I'm gonna buy your minutes from you. You know what I mean? At a cool price. Say if I give you $50 a month or something for your minutes, you know, and then I'm gonna be able to put in two different. I'm gonna use your number when I'm trying to call, you know, but you got to be strategic because you can't have the same number on. Me and you can't have the same number on our list without them looking into that. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you can't. Multiple inmates can't be calling the same person?
They can, but that raises an eyebrow.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You know, that raises an eyebrow. So say if I was to buy inmate minutes, I would have my wife have another phone. I'm going to use his minutes for that number. I'm going to use my minutes for this number to never raise an eyebrow. You know what I mean?
And every call you make in the feds, that number has to be approved before you even call that person.
No
right?
doubt. But this ain't nothing but a bubble Scantron form that you turn in, and all they really doing is just adding the number to your. It's not like they checking the number like that, you know. But computers say that the guy over here in H unit and the guy in C unit is calling the same number. That would make them go listen to the call to see if any transactions is being made within the prison. You know what I mean? So if they hear both voices on the same lines, then they know that this dude bought another guy's minutes. You know, so that's why I say about the raising eyebrows. You can get away with it all day long, but you know, you don't want to raise no eyebrows, you know.
Is there any restrictions on someone calling on a three-way for another person so that you could actually tap in with 2, 3, 4 people from making one call from prison?
Yeah, no doubt. But at the same time, they'll shut the phone itself will detect a couple voices and it'll hang up on its own. You know, you got new computer shit now, you know. But what you do is say, if I wanted my wife to call you, when I called her and I'm talking to her, she'll click over and call you and say, hold on, Alex right here, he want to talk to you. And then you would just come in on the phone when she say that, hey, bro, like you right there with her, and we'll chop it up. Yeah. So it's just it's technical, but it got to get done because you need to talk to people. You know?
And I don't think that most of America or the rest of the world who's not in touch with people that are on the inside understand the cost of being an inmate. I mean, everything costs. What about like clothes? What if you're wearing just prison clothes though? Do they have?
I mean, but you want to go to the yard. You need sweats. You need tennis shoes. You need, you know, you may not, you know, care to wear those boxers that they give out. You might want to go buy you some briefs. You know what I mean? Because you shoot hoop or, you know, whatever. You just want to be a little more comfortable. They have everything you can go buy, you know. And like I say, and that reason they provide it for is to make money, not to just basically accommodate us, you know. And but yeah, you're gonna have a couple pair of tennis shoes, and you know, and that was the dumb shit we was doing when we first got in there, because we all had a bunch of money when we went. You know, we got 3 or 4 brand new pair of shoes under our bed. Where the hell we going? Take some pictures and shit. You know, it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? So, but by the end, you down 4 or 5 years, you started to you had a necessity because you didn't need all that extra shit.
Yeah. So there is some reason why Suge would be wanting to make deals and trying to make money, because just because you in jail don't mean you don't need any money.
No doubt. And it get hard. You know what I mean? Because you got to think that, to be honest with you, it still take $300, $400 a month to live in jail if you're trying to just be slightly comfortable. Not balling, but slightly comfortable. It take $200-$300, you know, a month. You know, 70 on the call, you know, you got a store limit like 300 back then, you know. You talking about that was 300 a month. That don't last you you know, that don't do shit. Think about it. We probably buy groceries, you know, now 300 ain't shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. But at the same time, so yeah, guy would be wanting to try to make all the deals he can make, you know, if he got the opportunity.
So that means that if a baller ends up in prison, especially in the feds, a lot of other inmates are going to kind of gravitate towards this dude because he might start looking out for people that's in his circle.
Yeah, no doubt. I had this white boy come through, man, never forget, named Mike, man. And Mike wasn't a gangbanger at all. Mike was a businessman. How he got on that yard, he might have had a $20 million, something went wrong. He was a baller, a real one, you know. And my wife used to see his wife in the parking lot in Bentleys and shit. I mean, he had it, you know. Matter of fact, we got super cool because of the status that I had in the unit and on the yard. You know, we was cool, you know. But what he used to do is he'd take money and put it on the white boy shot caller books, feed them to keep, you know, everybody else off of him. You know what I mean? And I never forget, we was my wife and his wife had got cool in the visiting room. So I guess his wife was telling him about us and stuff, and they see the kids and stuff. So one time, like, he brought so much fried chicken that they stole out the kitchen and shit. You know what I mean? He came down, he said, "Hey, Frank, I got something for you. FG, I got something for you." I'm like, "What's up, Mike?" You know, he like, "I don't know how I'm going to get it to you." I said, "I'll get it. What you got?" And he used to always bless me with stuff, but he had to kind of sneak it to me a little bit. You know what I mean? But he was a good dude, looked out. But he also, what he told me was, if I ever needed to clean some money, I mean, he had a legit business. He was raw. He had a fee though. You know what I mean? You want to clean some bread? You want to clean a couple $100,000? I'll write you. My wife will bring a check to you. He was about his shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, they gravitated towards him, and they really couldn't afford to not let nothing happen to him because he was the way they ate. You know what I mean? So he did what he wanted to do based on it wasn't nothing for his pockets to, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of people don't understand the necessity and the importance of money when you're behind those walls. And I understand that Suge Knight is trying to make some deals and do some things, but this $81 million lawsuit is really going to put a monkey wrench in this program.
No doubt, man. You know, and I'm even wondering if they take because it could be in a situation where, like his status, when people send him money, they can take a percentage of it. So just even trying to eat the regular, you know, base, you know, it was there. It probably be like he would have to have money sent to somebody else's books, and they go to the store and just take him the stuff, and he break bread with them, because some dudes who owe a lot of money, they'll take a percent. Like if somebody sent them 300, they're only gonna see 150 of it. You know, so you trying to live in here, y'all taking my money because I have a restitution or a judgment against me or something like that. It's not the case for everybody, but I have seen it in several cases, you know.
All right. Well, let's move on to another topic here. We've been talking about Rene Boxer Enriquez, and the governor of California made a decision, and I'm not so sure what this decision means, but he didn't completely deny him. He said that he is referring this decision to the full board for review on June, just a few days ago, this month in June.
I'm thinking on that full board review that he want to go back and look at his other reviews. Look at years ago reviews on what they said about him then and compare what they saying about him now. What made them deny him, because he has been denied before by the board. So what made the board deny him back then? So I'm believing, and I'm not certain, that a full board review is when they go take all the reviews from all his parole hearings, put them together, and see exactly what medium they can come as if the good shit that they wrote outweigh the bad shit that they wrote back and when they was denying him, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little research myself, but what we were expecting to see here, because all the governors, well, the two governors that have been dealing with his case, they have always denied his release, even though the CDC approved it. And what the governor usually does is, after the CDC grants parole, the governor usually puts down a reversal. Parole. Let's see. Let me read one of these reversals. Yeah, inmates' grant of parole was reversed. So that's basically what the governor, Governor Newsom, and the previous governor have been doing every time, just reversing his parole. But this time, this being referred to a full board. So we'll see, and we'll tap in with the Streets and Scholars listeners and let you know whatever happens with Rene Boxer Enriquez. And you have to tap into a few episodes ago when we went into more detail about his case. But hey, man, let's talk about this whole Nipsey Hussle case, man. To me, man, this is like the biggest story of America to me right now.
Hey, man, it is, man. You know, every channel I turn to on YouTube, they talking about it all day long. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Holder, he's been on trial since last week, and he conceded that he did it.
Right.
There's no that's not even part of the case. The defense attorney's opening statement, he said, "My guy killed Nipsey Hussle."
Right, right.
But we are here to determine whether or not this is a first-degree murder. And after you see all the evidence, I believe you will be convinced that this was a manslaughter. So this is what this case is all about: manslaughter or first-degree murder. I want to talk about that, but let's save that for. Let's talk about a few other things here. The first witness for the prosecution was Cowboy, aka Herman Douglas, and I was a little surprised that he came to court. Not only that, I'm not surprised he came to court because under subpoena you're forced to come to court, right. But I was very surprised at how comfortable he was on the stand, how he was answering all the prosecution's questions. And there definitely was no tension between him and the prosecutor. And what I mean by that is, for example, when Kerry Latham came to testify a couple days later, you can tell he didn't want to be there.
Right.
He didn't want to answer questions. No, I don't remember. I don't recall. I didn't see. But when Cowboy testified, he was going with the flow,
no doubt,
and pretty much answering every question that the prosecutor had to ask him. And this is a dude, for those who don't know, he's from 60s.
No doubt.
He's an OG from over there. And he's actually Nipsey's big homie because he was originally known as Thundercat. Nipsey was Lil Thundercat. So, man, this whole topic of snitching, I was just thinking, I was talking to one of my boys in New York the other day, and he said that this whole, I guess this ethic that you hold to, and, you know, I certainly believe into it to a certain degree. My boy was telling me there's no such thing.
You know,
it's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit, Alex.
There's no such thing as the code.
Well, you know what? It's guys that's gonna always stick by it, you know, and what they gonna call us is dinosaurs. You know, people don't do that no more. You know what I mean? And I've heard so many different terms, you know, being used. You know, I had little homies tell me that they were in a county jail. And dude, like, man, you told him, man, they ain't telling no more, man. It's called getting off first. You know what I mean? You know, and they didn't have no shame in it. And you know, it's now with the Cowboy situation, you know, he was Big Thundercat, Nipsey was Lil Thundercat. You know, obviously they had a close personal relationship. You know, maybe he said, you know, if this was somebody else, if this was another situation, I'll stick by the G code. But since this is my buddy, this is a friend of mine, this was my dog, I'm gonna put my neck on the line, or if not, you know what I mean. But I'm gonna get up there and say what I need to say for my homeboy, for my friend, you know. And in the real world, that's what regular people do. But in this gangster shit, it's a no-no, you know, and it's a no-no, man.
Well, you know what? That's exactly what he said. He actually testified saying that if Nipsey got killed by another dude from another area, from another hood, I wouldn't be here right now.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah.
And then he also said, I don't know if it was the defense or the prosecutor asked him about him being a snitch, they asked him, do you feel concerned or worried about yourself, being that you're here testifying and pointing out Eric Holder as the shooter? And he said, if this was 1980 something, then yeah. But in 2022, nah, ain't nobody tripping in 2022 about this.
Yeah.
So do you think that there has been a shift in the way people used to think in the 80s to now we're 30 years later, into how they view and think about snitching and informing?
Well, what I believe is I don't think people change their views on it. I think people change their actions on it. You know, because at the same time, you know, you would have to basically be a serial killer if you take 20 of the top gangsters in LA that believe in no snitching and said, you take 100, you know, and said, man, we don't believe in no snitching. We gonna start back cleaning up the streets. Anybody that's a rat, we gonna get them. Bro, you'll be exhausted. You know what I mean? Or they might get y'all ass. You know what I mean? Because this gangster snitching nowadays. You know what I mean? Of course, we know that, you know. And so I believe that there's so many of them that nobody's willing to put in the work, because you would have to put in so much work. You know, basically you'd be killing yourself or committing suicide or getting a life sentence, even if you get past the first 5 or 6 or 7. I mean, just to keep on trying to, it's gonna catch up with you. Basically, is what I'm saying. Nobody want to pay that price no more.
Yeah, I think that the top 100 guys you're referring to, or if you even say the top 500 guys in LA, those guys are always going to be outnumbered.
No doubt.
by people that are willing to bend the rules.
And like you say, the rats aren't leaving no more. The rats are saying, "Come get me. I'm here." And they gonna shoot it out with you. They gonna fight with you. They gonna do all the stuff that they did when they was a gangster. So he absolutely right, man. It's watered down in the 2022, man. People are gonna talk about you, but I don't got them doing a whole lot.
Now, another thing he said on the stand when I was in there, when he testified last week, was that he acknowledged what he was doing with snitching. He even said I think he said it this way: some people would consider what I'm doing right now snitching, but I don't care. Nip was the homie. I'm doing this for Nip. And then he went on and explained why he was doing it. But he clearly understood, and he even admitted some will consider what I'm doing as snitching.
Well, outside of that part, Alex, I look at it like this. Nip lost his life for basically calling somebody a snitch. You know what I mean? If y'all stood that hard on the rules where Nip, even could have just left it alone. Look, Nip don't deal with this dude. This dude is a dude who pop up, come around. Yeah, he from the hood, blah, blah, blah. So this mean they were strict on their principles at the time that you can't even come around us, man, until you clear up your snitching allegation. Get your paperwork straight. So my whole point is, and my point only is, dude lost his life behind this shit, behind sweating a rat. Well, I haven't even still seen no paperwork or heard no definite answer if Eric Holder, was a snitch. But dude lost his life behind calling somebody a snitch. You know what I mean? And that should mean something.
Yeah, I was just thinking that if Nipsey was alive, he would not approve what Cowboy's doing.
Well, only Cowboy can make the decision that he made. He made the decision that he made. Like I said, he could say, I don't give a damn. Fuck that. This is my homeboy. This is my friend. You know what I mean? And we finna, and this what it's gonna be. You know what I mean? Because he had plenty of time. He had 3 years to make up his mind pretty much on how he was gonna handle it. You know what I mean? So how he handled it is how he handled it. But I'm saying on the flip side, this whole shit is over snitching. Nip is dead over, basically calling somebody a rat or telling them to get their paperwork straight. So that means they went by the code of conduct. So I think the code of conduct should still be, relevant,
Yes, definitely.
Now,
what do you think about, we've talked about this before on our we did two previous defining snitching, ratting, and informing Streets and Scholars episodes. I don't remember which one we discussed this, and maybe it came up in both, but there's always this response by the guy that's snitching that says they already know everything. And this is what Cowboy said. Cowboy said everything's on camera. So they know everything already as a way to try to minimize his role and his participation in testifying in the trial.
Right.
We've heard this from other people before.
No doubt, but like I say, Cowboy chose to do what he chose to do. He a grown ass man, anything we do as men, we have to live with in our life. And at the end of the day, Alice, if Cowboy is comfortable with any allegations that anybody speak of on him, he can't feel no kind of way about what people feel about him. On the flip side, though, I don't give a damn if they knew already what happened. We know the rules out here. You know what I mean? The rules out here, I don't give a damn if I seen my brother get knocked down in my face and know exactly who did it. You can't do it. I've had a situation like that when my son got shot. You know what I mean? And he knew who did it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, son, you was in the wrong place. Shouldn't have had your ass there. You don't know shit. That's just what it is. And I hate to have to tell my boy that at 16 years old, because for a minute he didn't understand, but now he understands clearly. So a lot of people say you're a bad dad, but at the same time, this is the code of conduct that we were brought up to live by. So it's more and more everyday people breaking it. You know what I mean? And no repercussions, for the acts. But at the same time, that don't mean the street code hasn't been violated when people say those type of things or do those type of things.
Yeah, I'm going to say that what Herman Douglas did, a.k.a. Cowboy, was definitely snitching. But I think that because Nipsey Hussle was so loved and that the way he was killed on camera, basically on social media, I think that a lot of people are going to give Cowboy a pass for helping prosecute the killer of Nipsey Hussle. And I think a lot of people from the streets are going to give him a pass.
No doubt. I believe that as well. Not to mention, everything was on camera. You know, I mean, he couldn't get up there basically and just lie. You know what I mean? You know, I don't recommend that. You know what I mean? He can't say he wasn't there. He can't say that he didn't see what happened. You know, it's some things he just can't say.
But he can do what the guy Rimpaw's doing right now.
No doubt at all. But I'm just saying, you know, he couldn't have got up there and lied. You know what I mean? So the best thing you could have did was not get up there at all. But do everybody have the resources to be on the move like that? Do everybody had the resources to run or hide or you know, because I'm sure they going to Rimpaw's every address they got on him. They hit no spots. You know what I mean? So it take more than just packing your bags and leaving when you do try to hide. You know, so I mean, like I said, I don't know his whole thought process. You know, maybe he's saying in his mind justice for my little homie under all circumstances. I don't know. You know, I just know what I seen and heard and been listening to in the media, and you know. That's what it is.
No, I think it's definitely justice for Nipsey from his perspective. He came in there with a jean jacket on that had a Nipsey Hussle mural like painted on the back of the jean jacket. And then he had a Nipsey Hussle shirt under the jacket.
Yeah.
So, you know, he was definitely team Nipsey when he came and testified. But one of the things that he did testify about that the cameras don't reveal and don't tell is the conversation between Nipsey Hussle and Eric Holder. And only 3 people alive witnessed the entire conversation. That's Nipsey Hussle. No, I'm sorry. Only 2 people alive witnessed that conversation. Nipsey Hussle and Rimpaw. It was a conversation. And then, of course, Eric Holder, but he's not going to speak.
Right.
I doubt he's going to testify. So that was really important for the jury to hear the conversation between Eric Holder and Nipsey Hussle. And Cowboy provided all that information.
Right.
So that ain't on camera. That's not something that he can say they already knew. No, that comes directly from you and only you and no one else but you, because Rimpaw hasn't, from what I understand, I don't think Rimpaw's even given a statement. So let's just acknowledge that we have one guy, Rimpaw, that is absolutely avoiding a subpoena. You know, I overheard some stuff in the court where they wanted him to come. They want Rimpaw to come, and for whatever reason, they can't find him. They can't serve him. And I'm just speculating that Rimpaw is like, I'm not testifying about none of this stuff.
Right.
So, and then what's weird is that I'm looking at Instagram and Cowboy's making derogatory videos about Rimpaw. I don't know what it's about, but and let's go into our next topic, because he joked about him running.
Right.
And if you look at the footage of the shooting, 2 people run, Rimpaw and then Carrie Latham's nephew was Shermy Villanueva.
Right.
Shermy runs north and turns west, and Rimpaw runs sort of east out of the shot of the footage. And some people are criticizing him for running and leaving Nipsey behind to die.
Well, at the end of the day, man, when they heard them guns blazing, I don't know if anybody been up close on a 40 Glock before, but man, when that thing go off, man, it's boom. I mean, you know, you knocking. So your first, even if you have a pistol, your first reaction is to get in a position where you could even shoot back without getting shot. That's first and foremost. But if you don't have a pistol, man, you trying to get out of Dodge. Now, the thing about it was, I don't fault him not one bit for running. What I'm hearing, which I don't know if these are the facts, is that he never came back.
Untrue.
Okay. See, and that's what I seen in comments and on Instagram, that he left. They saying he left and he never came back.
Well, I know for a fact that Shermy Villanueva came immediately back. He's actually seen on LAPD body cam.
Okay.
I don't know if Rimpaw hung around or stood there, but I do believe Rimpaw came back.
Okay, now this is my thing also. I don't also blame him for leaving again before the police get there.
Yeah, I was gonna add that in.
No. But what I'm gonna be here for the police get here for? Man? You know what I mean? I mean, any street motherfucker know. Dude, I'm not finna be here. You know, now if the homie is in good enough condition where we can drag him in the car, we taking him to the hospital. And we gonna drag him in there and skirt off. You know what I mean? You know, and try to get the place off the car, run him in there, drag him in there and get on. You know what I mean? I know when I got shot, I told the homie, get on. You know what I mean? You know, don't stay here and ask him no questions. It just, you know. So if he ran initially and came back, but then left before the police came, he all right with me. You know, but some people are saying from what I'm reading, again, you know, you could read anything, but they said that he ran and just never came back to even check to see no kind of condition on what Nip was in, you know, and if he did that, then I'm like, damn, homie.
Yeah, I don't believe he did that, but I don't see him on the LAPD body cam when they arrived.
Right.
So what I believe happened is he ran, came back, and said, "All right, the police is about to pull up.
Wasn't nothing he can do anyway.
Yeah, I need to get out of here."
Yeah,
and he left.
Okay.
Shermy stayed, and he's all over the LAPD body cam, talking to them and having conversation. But he definitely had a different attitude when he testified. You can tell when Shermy Villanueva was on the stand, different attitude from Cowboy. Yeah. You can tell that Cowboy had a rapport with the prosecution as if he knew all the questions that were going to be asked. But when Mr. Villanueva got up there, he was short.
Right.
Answers were short. You could tell he didn't want to be there. He even denied knowing Eric Holder. And, he might, some of these answers may not have been all truthful.
Well, the thing about it is that's why you get on before they come. Like I said, if he was good enough to go to the hospital, let's get him to the hospital. You know what I mean? If it's over, it's nothing you can do.
Well, let me ask you this. Nipsey Hussle's brother, Black Sam, rushed to the scene, and the footage shows him doing chest compressions, trying to save his brother's life. And if you're there with the homie's brother and he's trying to save the life, but the police is about to pull up in 10 minutes, do you help the homie's brother, or do you just say, "Hey, I gotta bounce"?
No, if he's still alive, I'm gonna help the homie brother. If you know. Now, if I shot back, and say hit somebody, then the homie got to know, hey, look, dude, I got to get on.
You got the GSR all over your hand.
I got to get on. You know what I mean? Hope everything work out right here. You know what I mean? And that's just, I know some of the listeners will be like, damn, you guys are so cold. No, but that's just how the shit go. That's gangster shit.
Yeah.
That's how people been surviving all these years. You know what I mean? But I would stay there even if I shot somebody. If I was the one doing the compressions and I know he still has some heart left, I take whatever I'm going to take for my crime to keep pressing until the ambulance get there to see if we could save the homie. I will do that. If somebody already on it, hey, listen, homie, I got to bounce, And that's just how, the shit supposed to go.
Yeah, so this whole idea of running when a dude, and by the way, Eric Holder popped off his 40 8 times.
And he had a revolver.
And he had a revolver that he popped off. I don't know how many number of times he popped that off, but there were 8 .40 caliber casings right there on the ground. So that's 8, he did, including whatever he did with the revolver. And for those who don't know, I mean, your natural instinct is to take cover.
No doubt.
And I agree with you. I have no problem with both of these guys running for safety and then coming back to assess what happened.
Right.
So I don't know why Cowboy's making fun of Rimpaw for running. He put a video up that said this dude ran like Carl Lewis, but it didn't move me.
Well, double check to see if Rimpaw came back.
I will.
And like I say, if he didn't come back, then I got to change my whole perspective on him. You know what I mean? But if he did, he'd come back to at least to see dude gone. But it was. Somebody else was shot. Who was that, Kerry?
Yeah, Kerry Lathan was shot in the back, and he was laying there on the ground as well. He couldn't get back on his feet.
Right. So then you still got a homie that's alive. So you got to come back, and you got to some point, you got to help out, So I wasn't there. I only know what I seen on video and stuff like that. But at the same time, hey, it's gonna be a wild ride through this whole case.
Now, let me ask you about another topic that came up in this trial, and I'm a little surprised that this is going on because I've sat in on many trials and I've worked on many trials, But in this particular trial, there is no family present on either side, meaning the victim and the defendant. Usually the victim's mom is there at trial, or the father, or a sister, a brother, a cousin. Nobody. Nipsey has a mom and dad that are still alive, doing well. They're not there. We all know about Black Sam, his brother.
Sam, what name?
He ain't showing up. He actually did an interview for KCAL News here in L.A., and he said that he's not going to the trial.
Oh, okay.
And he's got a grandmother and Lauren London. He has a child with Nipsey.
Right.
None of these people came to court. And then on Eric Holder's side, nobody's coming to court. What do you think about this whole lack of family in this case?
You know what, man? They lost a child, man. They lost a brother. They lost a father, And I've never seen where it was at least somebody in the court. Aunts, grandmothers, mother, brother. I haven't seen that either, but maybe they just all agreed on it'd be best if we just let the trial take place. Don't let nobody get, pictures and photos of our emotions and, to run with other stories with, you know what I mean? Because some people will take a picture of Nip mom and make a whole YouTube story about it, just to get some views, So with social media and media itself is what it is today, I'm thinking they made it just all said, hey, we going to sit it out, let the process go through it. Plus, we don't even want to go through every single aspect of this one more time to see how he got shot, to see what this guy's mindset was, to see that his spine was severed, hear all this stuff again. So I believe it probably was just a tactic that the family took to ensure themselves, man, that, they don't be caught up in no emotions or media play.
With their lack of presence, it kind of makes it seem like they don't really care whether or not Eric Holder's even convicted.
I believe that they probably have faith that he will be, but it still has to be somebody out there that hope that he doesn't. You know what I mean? The G's out there like, man, let this dude off. The G's would prefer that this dude get out on the street, so street justice can be served in their minds, So maybe everybody don't want to see him go down, So, but I don't think that they don't care. I wouldn't reach that far for me to say that. I just maybe think they took an agreement that they don't want to go through the emotional roller coaster no more.
Now, when your brother was killed, did they catch the shooter and did he have a trial?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now, if they did catch him and do one on trial, would you have went to court?
I'm sure I would, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I would have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for all these years, your brother's homicide is unsolved.
Unsolved, yeah. 32, that was in 1990, 32 years ago.
But over the years, you've connected the dots and pretty much figured it out.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. It took me a minute, but yeah, connected them dots, man. Because like you said, when you're out here in these streets,
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised that they didn't even do one appearance, maybe the mom or the dad or even Sam, just because of the number of cases that I've been on. And there's always grieving family members that want to see the system work for them.
Right.
Nobody showed up.
Well, that's strange. I didn't know that until you told me that. You know what I mean? I didn't even think to ask because most of the time family is there. So I didn't even think to ask were they at court. I just assumed they were.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to hold it against Black Sam or anyone. I'm sure if I sat down with them and they would explain something that will make me understand better. I'm just saying I haven't seen it.
Right.
And it's unusual. And even Eric Holder, he doesn't have anybody there. Sometimes the defendant has family there. And when they usually do in court is the family of the defendant sits on one side, and the family of the victim sits on another side, so they're not really interacting.
Well, I could see nobody showing up for Eric Holder, because I believe every family member believe they're a target. They show up at that court, because that's what kind of situation, it's gang shit, you know what I mean? So take your ass in there if you want. Oh, you his people? Because that's how mad people are,
Well, man, this is one of the most secure courtrooms that you gonna walk into,
No, that's in the courtroom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you talk about leaving and getting around the corner or even just writing somebody license plate down in the parking lot or anything.
Or showing your face.
Yeah. Somebody might know you. She live over there on 53rd or something, and people are hot. LA is hot, California is hot. That was Nip,
I was talking to one of the detectives on the case during one of the breaks, and he told me that they were expecting a whole bunch of gang members to be here and that they were going to have to, maintain order.
Right.
And it hasn't even been like that. It's been quiet. It's been not even packed the last couple of days and going pretty much relatively smooth,
Hey, like I say, they're going to probably let the system play out. But at the same time, a lot of gang members stop showing up at court because when those gang detectives in there, they writing down who showed up. They writing down. And then, like you say, when stuff get to rocking and rolling, those names are on that list. Well, he was at court. Some people can, it's like you said, I think they just going to let it play out, we'll see what comes of it.
Okay. And the last part of this case I wanted to talk to you about is the star witness. Her name is Breneta Nicholson, and this is the girl that drove Eric Holder, and a lot of people thought that she was going to get charged and have to deal with some sort of criminal punishment, but she's the star witness for the prosecution, and she's never been charged, and she's never been suspected at all in any wrongdoing in Nipsey's death, and she just finished testifying.
Yeah, her testimony, what I didn't get to hear though, but just from me hearing the prosecutor talk about it, and he talk about how willing she was to cooperate and everything they asked her to do. These are detectives. These dudes been doing this a very long time. They good at their job. Had they felt she had any kind of involvement in it, believe me, they would be holding her for something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they must truly believe that she honestly just was naive and didn't really put things together like, this was going to happen, because at the end of the day, everybody got a gun when they meet a female. You know what I mean? So that's, for females nowadays, that's not even nothing to, think twice about, but I believe her testimony must have been honest and truthful, and they believed her.
Yeah, in fact, she has an agreement with the prosecutor that if anything she testifies or anything that they find out about her is a lie that she provided, she goes to jail. So they're just trying to show in court that this woman has been honest since day one,
No doubt.
and fully cooperative. In fact, when she was getting interrogated by the LAPD, I believe that would have been like on April 2nd or 3rd, a few days after this happened, they told her, call Eric right now and talk to him. And she did it. Eric didn't. I guess Eric just learned that. Well, maybe that might be in his paperwork, that in the discovery that she called. But we're learning that for the first time as a journalist, as a trial watcher. We're learning that she called Eric for the police, even though he didn't know, and it was in order to get him into custody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she cooperated with even that.
Now let me ask you this quick part. They saying, is it true that he turned himself into some kind of mental or checked into some kind of mental facility prior?
That is true, actually.
I mean, that may have some weight on this case. If they can find out any kind of real mental issues, correlate with him and this shooting, I mean, it can go different than people think.
Well, you gotta have a real good lawyer to know how to argue.
Right. And the prosecutor, and he got a public defender.
He got a public defender, but the public defender is a pretty sharp guy.
Yeah, he seemed like he holding his. Well, just from the, what I'm seeing, know what I mean. Seemed like he's standing up, trying to, fight his case.
He's trying to, utilize any tools that are available to him. But I was talking to one of my older guys that I know that's been going to prison. This guy's been going to prison on and off for like 40 something years. And he tells me that a lot of those dudes in the county jail that put that yellow jumper on and take pills, he said half them people is faking it.
No doubt.
They're doing that because they want to look like that for the trial. If they're in there for something serious, so they're trying to win sympathy with that. So the system knows how people take advantage of, certain things. So I don't know if him checking himself into this mental thing is relevant. I know it hasn't come up in trial yet.
Right.
But, we still got a few days, maybe next week, and this trial is going to be over. But I just wanted to emphasize that Breneta Nicholson, I want to explain everything she did for those who think that she is involved. She gave her cell phone up and let them do a data dump. She gave her car up and let them search her entire car. She approved the search of her apartment and her mom's apartment. And She sat there and got interrogated by 2 LAPD detectives that have over 60 years experience combined for 4.5, 5 hours.
Exactly.
And she also sat with the prosecutor downtown, and I think that was maybe a 2-hour interview. So after all of this was done, they determined that she played absolutely no role in the murder of Nipsey Hussle. But there's still people out there that believe she's involved in some kind of way. And it's just it's making me realize that people make their determinations first rather than listen to the information to make their determination.
No doubt, but sometimes when people limited on information, you know, you kind of really wonder, because if you were to tell me without telling me that, if you was to tell me that she wasn't accused of anything, before you told me that she sat down with the prosecutor, she sat down with the police for 4.5 hours, she let them do the dump, searched her mama's house, searched her house. Had you not gave me this information, I would say she knew what time it was, you know. But it's possible that she don't. It's just that's our first way of thinking, that because a lot of times a dude gonna say, "I'm finna lay this fool down." You know what I mean? You knew something where then you could have took off and you didn't. You know it was certain shit, but after you gave me that information, hey man, I'm gonna believe it, because she can't fool all them. I'm gonna just be honest with you.
She can't. And I personally spoke to Detective Washington. He's the lead detective on this case during one of the breaks, and I was joking with him. I said, if this was 1985, y'all would have put a case on her.
Yeah, they sure would have.
And he agreed with me.
He actually agreed. Fighting this case right with him.
Yeah.
You know.
But also another thing that maybe a lot of people don't know is that when the shooting happened, she was in a car in the alley about a half a block away. So she never saw the shooting.
Right.
She heard the shooting, but she didn't see the shooting. And another thing that was interesting, I don't think that not a lot of people know this, is that he attempted to pull his gun out earlier when they drove around the corner to do like a drive-by. And she stopped him. She said, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah, right.
You pulling a gun out? He was actually loading the magazine up, and then he had the gun like hanging like he was about to bust. And she said, "Nah, what are you doing? You're not gonna shoot out of my car." And then he said, "Okay." And he said, "Just go park so I could eat my chili fries." So then they went around to the Fat Burger, which is on Crenshaw, but it's close to the alley, and they parked in that parking lot. Well, actually, they parked in the alley by the Fat Burger, and he started eating his chili fries. And then she testified that about after maybe he took 3 servings, he said, "Wait here, I'll be right back." And then he walked off, did his thing, and then jumped in the car and then told her, "Drive off." So that's how it all went down.
Right.
I don't think a lot of people know, those little events that took place. And if you knew more about it, then you'll see how she had nothing to do with it. But then some people will say, "Oh, when he pulled that gun out, when he drove around and came on Slauson, then you knew he had a gun." And it's true. That's the moment when she first realized he had a gun. And some people are saying, well, she should have just kept driving. But she never knew that he had any animosity towards Nip.
Right.
So it's just the expectations that people have, I think, are just unreasonable, and they just don't make sense.
Hey, people gonna blame who they can blame, Al, especially when it's their people. You know what I mean? Because it was my people, I feel the same way. Like, she definitely had something to do with it, but that's just because this is my people. You know what I mean? Feelings are going to get involved, and you're going to just feel she got something to do with it just because you was with the dude.
But just think about back in the day when you was on the streets really heavy doing your thing, and I know a lot of homies done this from time to time. You have a broad drive you around sometimes.
No doubt.
Hey, can you take me over here? Hey, can you drop me off over here? You not telling her who live in this house, where I'm going, or who I'm about to talk to, right?
No doubt.
You keep her in the dark as much as you can.
You're absolutely correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying from a grieving homie or a grieving brother or a grieving family member, she has something to do with it. That's just automatic how you're going to think. You know what I mean? I'm not exempt from that. You know what I mean? I want everybody who was driving get her too. If you know what I mean, that's just the reality of it. But because how could she not know in your mind? But until they get to trial, you start hearing all these different evidence, and some of the stuff I had heard about the shooting originally was nowhere near even true, from originally what I heard when it happened. You know what I mean? So, the facts is coming out.
And lastly, before we wrap up this episode, I just wanted to talk about the difference manslaughter and murder, which is really what this case is all about. The prosecution's trying to get a first-degree premeditated murder. The defense is trying to say this was a homicide that was inspired or influenced by the snitch conversation that happened between Eric Holder and Nipsey Hussle. And the prosecution is, they're not denying that, but they're still saying that even though it only took about 5 to 8 minutes from that conversation to the shooting, it's still premeditated murder according to the prosecution. And the defense is trying to say, wait, hold up, this guy got triggered from that conversation, and this should be a manslaughter.
Well, I'm wondering, which I was thinking about earlier, because I'm trying to see what's the normal time frame that they give you between crime of passion and you had enough time to think about it. What is that time limit? You know what I mean? I was thinking about that earlier. 8-9 minutes. I'm like, damn, that's a nice little chunk of time, but shit moves fast. So like you say, he went around the corner, did this, jumped out. He was still hot. He was still mad. Of course, like right now, and so I can't say that it was too much time, but I'm just wondering what they usually label as the time limit as too much.
I don't think there's a time limit. It's just based on the circumstances. Mm-hmm. And the way the prosecution's laying it out, they're almost saying that Eric Holder should have shot Nipsey immediately, and then I might have gave him a manslaughter.
Right.
But you also have to calculate the time. He was waiting for the food at Master Burger. So as soon as he got to the parking lot, he went to Master Burger first, ordered some food. Then he came out and walked over to Nipsey, Cowboy, and Rimpaw, had a short conversation that lasted about 4 minutes there. Mm-hmm. Then he went back into the Master Burger, got the food. Then he walked into the car with Breneta, and then they drove around. They did a whole lap around the whole block. And then she said, no, don't do. He pulled the gun out. She says, no, don't do that. What are you doing? And then he says, all right. They pull back around and they park. He eats his chili fries for about a minute or so. And then he tells her, wait right here. I'll be right back. And then goes boom, 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 comes back to the car and left. That's pretty much the whole thing.
Right.
That took about 8 minutes, I believe.
Right.
So I think it's tough to argue manslaughter with 8 minutes, but before I wrap up, I want to remind everyone, look up DeAndre Bond's case. Mm-hmm. DeAndre Bond was a famous actor, was doing this thing in the 90s and early 2000s. He had just got a role in this movie called Guy Fisher. Mm-hmm. That was, I believe Denzel was directing it, or Denzel was connected to this movie some kind of way. He got a role in that movie. He came, and he's from L.A., and he's the only actor to ever play a Blood and a Crip.
Oh, okay.
So he went to his auntie's house, and the boyfriend was out there, and he pulled up with the music playing loud. The boyfriend started mouthing off at DeAndre Bonds, and he beat DeAndre Bonds up, the boyfriend. DeAndre Bonds is a little guy. The boyfriend's a big dude. So DeAndre Bonds comes to. I think they get into it again, and he knocks him out again. At some point, DeAndre Bonds got so pissed, he walked into that house. He found the knife in the kitchen. He came back outside and he stabbed the dude to death. They charged him with first-degree murder back in 2001. He went on trial. Now, I don't know how many minutes it took him to go into the house, find the knife, and come out, but it definitely took a couple minutes.
Right.
The jury found him guilty of manslaughter. And he got the max, which was 11 years. And that's the max. It's still the max. If Eric Holder is convicted of manslaughter, the max is 11. So I say all of that as an example of a guy that killed a dude. They tried to give him first-degree murder. They tried to say this is premeditated. You had plenty of time to get in that car and leave. But you decided to walk in that house, find a knife, come back, and stab him. That was shorter than 9 minutes,
right.
But it was still a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So he ended up getting the manslaughter, and he did 11 years, and he got out, I think, in 2018. But I do think there is a possibility of thinking about this case as a manslaughter, but I do think this window of time might be too long.
Right. I'm agree with you on that one.
Okay.
I'm gonna totally agree, because when I said 8-9 minutes, I'm not gonna eat that up.
Now, what if it was 4 minutes?
Well, I'm not going to go per se by the minutes. Had he went to the car, got that thing, went back, no matter how far the car was parked, if it took 2 minutes to get to the car and 2 minutes to get back, I'm going to justify that as far as, what he trying to do, get the manslaughter. Because he has to go get his tool, and that's how long it took him.
But the fact that he walked to get a tool, sometimes people say that's enough to be premeditated.
I mean, they could say that he won't, but I mean, personally, if you asking me, I would have said, okay, I could feel that. He went and got that thing, came right back and did his thing. He didn't eat no food. He didn't go around no corner. He didn't tell her hold down. He didn't make all these decisions first. You know what I mean? So we gonna see how it play out.
Well, lastly, I would say when he came around on, when they drove all the way around the first time and he pulled the gun out, if he would have shot Nipsey from the car at that point, that would have been like just a few minutes. That would have been like 3 or 4 minutes later.
Right.
But because they drove back around, parked by the Fat Burger, got into the alley, started eating the chili fries, that started using up more minutes.
No doubt.
So the girl stopping him the first time may have messed up his chances of getting manslaughter. I'm just thinking it out.
Well, not to mention, had he shot from the car, he probably wouldn't have been as accurate as he was by walking up on him. So
that's another point that I was thinking.
He might not even be fighting a murder right now.
Hey, if she didn't stop him from shooting from the car, maybe nobody dies.
Nobody dies.
He busts about 3 or 4 shots and they drive off.
Right.
Because from that distance, from the street to where they were standing in the parking lot, that is, you got to be an amazing shot.
No doubt. So.
But he thought about it. He thought about I'm gonna shoot from this distance.
Yeah, he's finna bust from right there.
Yeah, and he would have been in a much better situation because I don't agree anyone would have died unless you got a lucky shot.
Right.
And he would have been looking at less attempted murder.
Attempted murder.
Yeah. All right, man. We could talk about this case for a whole nother hour, but we're gonna wrap up this episode of Streets and Scholars. Holla at my boy F General 1 on Instagram, FG Unleashed on YouTube. Anything coming up on your YouTube channel? I finally got to see you and your sons on there. That was actually dope. I'm surprised that more people ain't really tapped in with the father-son conversations.
Hey man, they was in my DMs and man, they saying a lot of good stuff. But like I said, I just got to get more videos out there, be more consistent, and keep them coming so people can know to keep going and check for me. So it's a process for me.
And I'll try to post some Eric Holder trial updates on my channel, StreetTV. And thanks for tapping in with another fire episode of Streets and Scholars.